It is hard to imagine, but ancient Egyptians processed stone with remarkable precision that remains a mystery to this day. Granite, with a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, was used to create monumental structures and statues that are striking for their brilliance and smoothness. For instance, in the Temple of Karnak, one can see massive granite blocks that have been polished to a mirror-like finish. These surfaces have retained their smoothness for thousands of years, testifying to the high level of skill of the ancient stonecutters. But how did they achieve such precision? One theory suggests the use of abrasive sand, which was likely mixed with water to create a polishing paste. Some artifacts show signs of copper saws, which also indicate the use of copper tools in stoneworking. However, not all researchers agree with these theories. Some propose that ancient Egyptians might have used sound technologies that allowed them to cut stone with ultrasonic vibrations. This seems fantastical, but such hypotheses fuel interest in the ancient methods of stoneworking. Particularly impressive are the cylindrical drilled holes with minimal deviation, visible on many ancient Egyptian artifacts. Such holes, made with high precision, cause admiration and challenge our understanding of the technologies of that era. The sound made by stone when tapped sounds like a melody of the past, reminding us of the immense labor and knowledge hidden behind these massive blocks. Basalt, with a hardness of 6, was also used to create various objects, including statues and decorative elements. Unlike granite, basalt has a finer grained structure, making it more convenient for carving, but no less challenging to work with. Ancient masters skillfully used their tools to achieve perfect right angles and straight lines, raising questions about their skills and knowledge. In the Temple of Hatshepsut in Deir el-Bahari, one can see examples of diorite processing, which reaches a hardness of 7 to 8. This material is known for its exceptional strength and weight, making it difficult to work with. However, the Egyptians managed to overcome this challenge, leaving behind masterpieces that retain their appeal to this day. Their work with stone laid the foundation for many architectural achievements that continue to amaze us. The grand pyramids, temples, and statues made from these materials serve as a reminder of the high skill and mysterious technologies used by the ancient Egyptians, which remain a subject of study and discussion among historians and archaeologists. In particular, in the 20th century, archaeologist and engineer Joseph Farrell proposed that ancient Egyptians might have used various methods that were not documented in historical records, raising questions about what else we do not know about the technologies of that era. Remarkably, the Aztecs developed a unique calendar system that not only organized their daily life, but was also an integral part of their religious rituals. The main components of this system were the ritual calendar Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, and the solar calendar Xiuhpohualli, with a cycle of 365 days. Tonalpohualli was divided into 20 months of 13 days each, with each day having its own name and symbolism associated with gods and natural phenomena. Xiuhpohualli, on the other hand, consisted of 12 months of 30 days each, with the addition of 5 extra days considered ominous. These two calendars combined into a complex system that formed a cycle of 52 years, known as a century. At the end of each century, the Aztecs performed ceremonies to renew the fire, during which they feared that the world might end. During these ceremonies, priests ascended the sacred mountain to light a new fire, symbolizing the renewal of life and the beginning of a new cycle. The Aztecs exhibited extraordinary precision in observing the starry sky, recording the movements of planets and stars, which allowed them to predict astronomical phenomena such as solar and lunar eclipses. Their calculations were so accurate that they could determine the time of an eclipse to within a few minutes. Their calendar did not merely indicate days, but also marked the rhythmic flow of time, filled with ritual ceremonies, sacrifices, and festivals, emphasizing the importance of the connection between celestial phenomena and earthly life. Each month brought new rituals such as harvest celebrations or ceremonies honoring rain gods, making the lives of the Aztecs inseparable from their calendar system. Thus, the Aztecs did not just count time, they lived in accordance with its rhythms, making their culture remarkably rich and layered. Rituals connected to the calendar were part of their identity, and each Aztec knew that their life was subject to these cosmic cycles. The complex structure of the calendar reflected not only astronomical observations but also the Aztecs' profound philosophical and religious beliefs about the world and humanity's place in it. The calendar was not just a tool for tracking time, but a sacred text that dictated the order of life and death, joy and fear, light and darkness. At the Knossos Palace on Crete, architecture was so complex and multi-layered that it became the prototype for the legend of the Labyrinth of the Minotaur. Built around 2,000 years before our era, this palace has a multi-level structure with more than 1,000 rooms connected by intricate corridors, making it a true labyrinth. Architects employed advanced engineering systems, including water supply and sewage systems, which were highly unusual for their time. Vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the life of the Minoans, such as dances and sports competitions, adorn the walls, giving the rooms a lively and colorful atmosphere. One of the most impressive places is the throne room, where a stone throne, surrounded by columns in the characteristic Minoan style, stands. This throne was likely used for rituals related to the cult of the bull, highlighting the connection of the Minoans with this animal. The cult of the bull can be traced through numerous artifacts found on the palace grounds, including images, frescoes, and ritual objects. In the storage rooms, which occupy a significant part of the palace, archaeologists discovered thousands of clay tablets with Linear A script, indicating a highly developed system of accounting and administration. Light wells located in different parts of the building fill the internal spaces with soft light, creating a unique atmosphere where the air is filled with the scent of the sea carried through the open courtyards. The sounds of life in the palace, laughter, conversations, footsteps, echo in the corridors, reminding us that life once thrived here. The Knossos Palace, being not only the administrative center, but also the cultural and religious heart of the Minoan civilization, left behind numerous mysteries that continue to attract the attention of scholars and tourists from around the world. Every corner of this place is filled with history, and every fresco and tablet is a testament to the complex and rich culture that left its mark on human history. Legends of lost civilizations always stir the imagination and the desire for adventure. Research into the location of Atlantis, the mysterious island mentioned by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 300 years before our era, has been ongoing for more than 2,000 years. In these texts, Plato describes Atlantis as a powerful state located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, modern-day Gibraltar, which according to his accounts sank into the ocean as a result of a catastrophe. Plato claimed that Atlantis was more advanced than ancient Greece, possessing highly developed technologies and culture, which has attracted the attention of many researchers. Since then, numerous hypotheses have been proposed about the location of this mythical island. One of the most popular theories suggests that Atlantis was located in the Mediterranean Sea, which is linked to ancient records of the Santorini volcano, which could have been the source of the catastrophe. Other researchers believe that the island could have been in the Atlantic Ocean, where, in their opinion, a sunken continental formation might have existed. Some even propose that Atlantis could have been in the North Sea, in the area of the modern-day Orkney Islands, where archaeologists have found traces of ancient civilizations that mysteriously disappeared. Some scientists suggest that Atlantis could have been in the Caribbean basin, pointing to underwater structures found near Cuba and the Bahamas. Even Antarctica has not been overlooked. Some researchers claim that under the ice cover, remnants of ancient civilizations that once inhabited this region could be hidden. All these paths lead through boundless ocean expanses where the roar of the sea waves carries away the mysteries, and the salty smell of the sea creates an atmosphere of enigma and adventure. The endless waters hiding ancient secrets continue to attract seekers of adventure, willing to risk everything for the idea that on the ocean floor might lie a world known to us only from myths. Scientific research, such as underwater archaeology and geological studies, continues, and scientists hope that one day they will be able to unravel this ancient enigma. In the 20th century, archaeologist Benjamin Smith from Boston University proposed a hypothesis that the Atlanteans could have been the ancestors of the Caribbean Indians, linking the myth to real historical events. In the year 2021, a group of underwater archaeologists discovered underwater structures near the island of Crete, which could confirm the existence of a highly developed civilization such as Atlantis. These findings open new horizons for discussion and research, continuing to intrigue both scientists and history enthusiasts. In ancient texts such as the Mahabharata, one can find references to technologies that evoke a sense of awe in contemporary researchers. In particular, descriptions of shining weapons are striking. They emitted light brighter than 1,000 suns and made food poisonous after use. These passages convey an atmosphere of ancient wisdom and modernity, as if these knowledge were ahead of their time. This is not mere mythology, but evidence that ancient Indians had concepts that still amaze us today. The Mahabharata also describes the consequences of using this weapon. Survivors lost their hair and nails, creating horrifying images that linger in the memory. These details hint at the potential catastrophic consequences of technologies we can only speculate about. No less intriguing are other examples, such as the flying machines Vimanas described in Vedic texts. These machines, according to ancient writings, could travel through the air and even into space, challenging traditional notions of technological progress. Passages mentioning Vimanas contain details about their construction and capabilities, suggesting that ancient civilizations had access to knowledge we are just beginning to understand. Vedic texts describe mirrors capable of transmitting images at a distance, evoking associations with modern technologies such as television and video communication. Reading these lines, one feels the contrast between the archaic language and the modern sound of the described technologies. Vedic writings, for instance, contain numerous descriptions of various mechanisms and devices that were presumably part of the daily life of ancient people. These references make one ponder how ancient cultures could develop their knowledge and technologies. It is important to note that many of these texts were written more than 3,000 years ago, making them even more mysterious and intriguing. Comparing them with modern achievements in science and technology raises questions about how advanced these ancient civilizations really were. These ancient texts open a window into a world that seems so distant and yet so familiar, where technologies could have been an integral part of everyday life. For example, descriptions of Vimanas include details about how they could be used for air travel, with the ability to adjust speed and altitude. This evokes images of how ancient people might have dreamed of flying and interacting with the sky, much like we do today. Comparisons with modern technologies such as drones and airplanes become inevitable when reading about such devices. These discoveries and descriptions underscore that our understanding of history and technology may be significantly limited. Texts that many consider to be myths may contain a kernel of truth waiting to be discovered. Research shows that ancient civilizations could have used technologies of which we are not even aware, making this field of knowledge captivating and full of mysteries. Facts about ancient technologies, such as Vimanas and shining weapons, continue to inspire scientists and researchers, raising questions about how much more we can learn about the past. The ancient Egyptians created a unique collection of texts known as the Book of the Dead, which served as a guide for souls in the afterlife. This compendium of spells and instructions, placed in tombs with the deceased, was intended to help them overcome the dangers of Duat, the underworld filled with traps and trials. A key aspect of this book was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the god of the afterlife. According to Egyptian beliefs, the heart of the deceased was placed on scales where it was compared to the feather of Maat, a symbol of truth and justice. If the heart was heavier than the feather, the soul faced dire consequences. It was consumed by the demon Amit, which meant annihilation. Souls wishing to enter the fields of Ialu, the Egyptian paradise, had to endure numerous trials, such as encounters with various mythical creatures and solving complex riddles. The Book of the Dead contained spells that instructed how to behave in these situations to avoid dangers and achieve eternal bliss. These texts not only reflected the religious views of the ancient Egyptians, but also demonstrated their profound belief in the afterlife, which continued after physical death. The process of mummification was an integral part of these beliefs. Egyptians believed that preserving the body was necessary for the soul to return to it in the afterlife. They used complex technologies, including the removal of internal organs and the use of natron to dry the body. Mummified bodies were placed in sarcophagi, often richly decorated with images of gods who were meant to protect the deceased. Tombs also contained items necessary for life after death: food, drinks, jewelry, and even toys. This was done so that the deceased could enjoy all the amenities in the afterlife. The atmosphere of funeral rituals was filled with solemnity and respect. The flickering of torches in burial chambers created a mystical ambiance where everyone present understood the significance of the moment. Priests recited spells and musicians played melodies, creating a sound palette that was meant to accompany the soul on its journey. The ancient Egyptians believed that this life was merely preparation for the true existence after death, and every action in the burial process was filled with meaning. This belief in the continuation of life after death was evident in every element of their culture, from the architecture of tombs to the rituals, making them unique among ancient civilizations. The Book of the Dead consisted of numerous texts, including spells that could vary depending on the time and place of burial, as well as the personal preferences of the deceased. For example, some versions contain up to 250 spells, while others may include more than 100. These texts were not just literary works, they were an important element of religious practice that defined life and death in ancient Egypt. In the jungles of Central America, mysteries left behind by the suddenly vanished Maya civilization lie hidden. Their magnificent cities were abandoned between the 8th and 9th centuries AD. During this time, centers like Tikal and Palenque were bustling with life, but soon emptiness took over the once crowded squares, and the magnificent temples, once filled with life, became echoes of past glory. The main theories about the causes of this disappearance are diverse and contradictory. One of the most widespread theories suggests that a drought that struck the region led to a shortage of water and consequently a collapse of agriculture. Studies show that between the 800th and 900th years AD, the level of precipitation dropped sharply, which could have had catastrophic consequences for the agricultural economy of the Maya. Additionally, the depletion of resources such as wood for construction and fuel could have played a decisive role in the crisis. The obsession with building and expanding cities led to excessive deforestation, exacerbating the ecological situation. Furthermore, epidemics of diseases, possibly caused by contact with other cultures, could have reduced the population. Some scholars point to military conflicts and social unrest as important factors that undermined the stability of society and contributed to this process. Ancient cities like Copan and Calakmul are now shrouded in the rustling of leaves, and the sounds of wild animals like monkeys and jaguars fill the space that was once full of human activity. Branches of trees reach for the sky, and through cracks in the stone walls, beams of light break through, creating an atmosphere of mystery and desolation. Each abandoned palace, covered in moss and vines, reminds of the former glory and complex fate of this people. 80% of the cities founded by the Maya remain abandoned, while their magnificent architectural achievements and complex systems of governance continue to inspire awe and bewilderment in modern researchers. For example, in Tikal, researchers have discovered more than 300 objects, including temples, squares, and aqueducts, demonstrating a high level of engineering skill. As a result, the mystery of the Maya's disappearance remains one of the most intriguing topics in archaeology, attracting the interest of scholars and travelers from around the world. In the tropical jungles of Costa Rica, mysterious stone spheres are hidden, representing one of the most intriguing archaeological objects in the world. These perfectly round balls vary in size from a few centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter and can weigh up to 16 tons. They are primarily made of granodiorite, a material chosen not by chance, as it is extremely strong and easy to work with. At first glance, each sphere appears to be a work of art, crafted with remarkable precision, which raises questions about the capabilities of ancient people who created them. Some historians and archaeologists propose that these spheres could have served as astronomical markers, indicating important astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses. Other researchers suggest that they may have been symbols of status, used to denote power or wealth, as well as navigational aids for ancient travelers in dense forests. The arrangement of these stone spheres in specific geometric patterns adds to their mystery. They are not randomly scattered, but likely part of a more complex system related to rituals or social structures of the time. In the humid air of the tropical forest, amidst chaotic vegetation, these man-made perfect spheres contrast with the wild nature, creating an atmosphere of ancient mystery that attracts researchers and tourists. The first mentions of the stone spheres date back to the early 20th century, when in 1906 archaeologist Clement Wadley discovered them in the Delta del Taral region. Since then, more than 300 such spheres have been found, but their true purpose and method of creation remain unknown. Some spheres have been damaged due to human activity, but many still stand in their original places, inspiring awe and questions about how ancient peoples could have created such precise forms. These stone spheres are over 1,000 years old and continue to draw the attention of scientists and tourists who seek to unravel their mystery. Studying these objects opens a new chapter in understanding the culture of Costa Rica's indigenous peoples and their interaction with their environment. In Colombia, enigmatic golden artifacts known as golden airplanes have been discovered. These artifacts, crafted by the Quimbaya culture between the 3rd century BCE and the 9th century CE, are small figurines with triangular wings, a vertical stabilizer, and a shape reminiscent of the fuselage of a modern airplane. When researchers created scale models based on these artifacts, they found that they could be aerodynamically stable. The length of the figurines varies from several centimeters to over 10, and the gleam of gold under museum lights creates a mesmerizing atmosphere, highlighting the elegance of ancient jewelry art. The contrast between the primitive technologies used to create them and their futuristic appearance raises many questions. Some researchers believe these figurines could be evidence of ancient flying machines used for air travel, while others interpret them as stylized depictions of birds or insects, which better aligns with ancient people's understanding of nature. It is important to note that Quimbaya, located in the region of modern-day Andes, was a distinguished culture known for its goldsmithing workshops and exquisite artistic creations. Scholars like archaeologist David E. Stewart have studied these artifacts, drawing conclusions about the complex rituals and symbolism of the Kimbaya culture. These golden airplanes continue to stir the minds of researchers, challenging traditional views on the development of civilizations in pre-Columbian America. Findings related to these artifacts have been made at sites like the El Tigre Cemetery, where over 50 figurines were discovered, each reflecting unique aspects of artistic expression and technological achievements of its time. These objects not only amaze with their form, but also make us ponder how deeply ancient peoples understood aerodynamics and how they interpreted their surroundings. The complexity and skill exhibited in creating these figurines underscore the high level of artistic and technological development of the Kimbaya culture, which left behind a legacy that continues to captivate contemporary researchers. Ultimately, these golden airplanes remain an unsolved mystery, reflecting the richness and complexity of the history of pre-Columbian America. Notably, some artifacts reach a length of 18 centimeters, adding further intrigue to their possible functions and meanings. In Mexico lies Teotihuacan, one of the most mysterious ancient cities, built by unknown architects who left behind only riddles and monumental structures. The pyramids of the sun and moon towering over the city are impressive in size. The Pyramid of the Sun, with a height of approximately 63 meters, is one of the largest in the world, and its base covers more than 14 hectares. The Pyramid of the Moon, though smaller in size, is no less imposing, reaching 47 meters in height and serving as a crucial part of the city's overall layout. The Avenue of the Dead, stretching for 2.5 kilometers, connects these two monumental structures and creates a sense of spaciousness where each step echoes off the ancient walls and the wind softly whispers among the stones. The geometric planning of Teotihuacan is striking in its precision. Streets intersect at right angles, and buildings are aligned with astronomical references, indicating a high level of knowledge among the architects and astronomers of the time. This city was not founded by the Aztecs, as many assume. Its history dates back to the early centuries of our era, when it reached its peak, with a population that could have numbered up to 200,000 people. The reasons for Teotihuacan's abandonment remain an unsolved mystery. It could have been due to internal conflicts, economic difficulties, or climate changes. Research suggests that during its decline, the city may have been abandoned for a short period, leaving behind many unanswered questions. Contemporary archaeologists such as Dr. Mario Gomez of the Mexican Institute of Anthropology continue to study this unique civilization, analyzing tools, ceramics, and other artifacts that help reconstruct the picture of life in Teotihuacan. Every stone here, every architectural element, is not just a remnant of an ancient culture, but a key to understanding how the people who left this city lived, dreamed, and created, bequeathing it to future generations. The pyramids, streets, and plazas of Teotihuacan continue to hold the spirit of the time and the mysteries that may never be fully unraveled. In the highlands of Bolivia lies a mysterious place known as Puma Punku, where stone blocks have been so precisely cut that not even a knife blade can fit between them. These massive structures, some weighing up to 800 tons, are a testament to the skill of their creators. Each block, hewn from extremely hard andesite and granite, exhibits perfectly smooth surfaces and precise right angles that baffle modern architects and engineers. It is hard to imagine how ancient builders could achieve such precision, as even today's tools often struggle with such materials. Some blocks are connected by metal clamps, adding to the mystery of this site. How and why did ancient people use metal in construction when there are no written records of the creation of these structures? The atmosphere of Puma Punku immerses one in a state of deep contemplation. The thin mountain air, the silence among the ancient ruins, create a sense of solitude and grandeur. The rough surrounding landscape contrasts with the incredible precision of the stonework, creating a unique blend that raises many questions. The ancient stone blocks, situated at an altitude of over 3,800 meters above sea level, inspire awe and reverence. The 18-sided and many-sided forms, perfectly integrated into the structures, make one ponder the vision and technology of those who created them. Pumapunku is not just a place but a testament to human ingenuity, preserving its mysteries to this day. Research continues, but the exact methods and technologies used to create these monoliths remain unsolved, highlighting the complexity and uniqueness of this historical heritage. In the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth, stands a colossal geoglyph known as the Atacama Giant. This anthropomorphic figure, approximately 190 meters tall, is carved into the slope of a hill and depicts a human with elongated limbs and a large head. Creating such a geoglyph required significant effort. Ancient people removed the top layer of soil, revealing dark stones that contrasted with the bright, sandy background. Scientists believe the Atacama Giant could be up to 2,000 years old, placing it among other famous geoglyphs worldwide, such as the Nazca Lines. There are several theories about its purpose. Some researchers suggest it may have served as an astronomical marker, indicating important astronomical events or seasonal changes. Others associate the image with worship of fertility deities, which was particularly relevant in the desert, where access to water was crucial. Another hypothesis is that the figure pointed to water sources in this harsh climate. In the scorching air of the desert, where temperatures can rise above 40 degrees Celsius, the Atacama Giant creates an atmosphere of an ancient message left for observers from above. The dark lines of the figure stand out sharply against the light sand, giving the impression that it is not just a drawing, but a warning or call meant to be visible to those who could rise above the earth. It is interesting that many geoglyphs in this region were discovered only thanks to modern technologies such as aerial photography, highlighting the complexity and mystery of ancient cultures that created such monumental works of art. In the 20th century, archaeologists and anthropologists like Dr. Christopher Patterson began studying these figures, trying to unravel their secrets and understand their role in the lives of ancient peoples. Each of these geoglyphs is not just a picture, but a window into the past, revealing much that is unknown about the lives of people who inhabited these lands thousands of years ago. Ancient peoples inhabiting the region of Gosek in Germany, around 4,900 years before our era, built observatories to observe celestial bodies. The Gosek Circle is a Neolithic structure consisting of concentric circles of earthen mounds, supplemented with wooden posts and palisades. This construction was meticulously designed to accurately orient itself towards the rising and setting of the sun on key days of the year, such as the winter and summer solstices. Researchers like Dr. Jens Falk from the University of Cologne assert that the size and shape of these circles could indicate significant astronomical events, suggesting that the ancient builders possessed advanced astronomical knowledge. The atmosphere at such times was filled with pre-dawn silence, as observers gathered in anticipation of the appearance of the solar disk, which gradually emerged in the opening between ancient stones. These moments were imbued with a sense of connection to cosmic cycles, likely evoking deep spiritual experiences. Similar observatories, such as Stonehenge in England and Newgrange in Ireland, also served astronomical observation purposes. Stonehenge, built around 3,000 years before our era, has stone blocks arranged in a circle that precisely point to the sunrise on the days of the summer solstice. Newgrange, dating back to approximately 3,000 years before our era, is a tomb where astronomical alignments allow light to enter at certain times of the year. The Mayan observatories, such as El Caracol in Chichen Itza, also demonstrate the high astronomical knowledge of these ancient civilizations, where circular structures were positioned to observe the movements of planets and stars. Ancient peoples used these structures not only for practical astronomical observations, but also for creating calendars and predicting the time of sowing and harvesting. The astronomical data recorded in these structures indicate a level of understanding of nature that was not merely hearsay. The sun appearing in the openings of observatories symbolized not only astronomical events but also the cyclical nature of life, adding additional meaning to their existence. Approximately 40,000 years ago in Europe, a group of people appears on the horizon of archaeological history, whom we now call Cro-Magnons. These were Homo sapiens who not only survived the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, but also began to create art that continues to amaze even contemporary artists. On the walls of caves such as Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain, realistic cave paintings have been preserved, depicting bison, deer, and even hunting scenes, executed with remarkable precision. These images, created with red and black paint, often date back to the time when the caves were illuminated by flickering light from primitive lamps made of stone and animal fats. The caves where these artists worked became true galleries, where each brushstroke reflected a unique bond between humans and nature. It is also notable that the Cro-Magnons crafted sculptures such as the famous Venus of Willendorf and musical instruments, including flutes made from bird bones, indicating a sophisticated culture and high level of artistic expression. Their technical achievements are astonishing. They used needles with eyes, which in itself was a significant advancement in textile production, and harpoons and atlatls that allowed them to throw spears at long distances, demonstrating advanced hunting skills. However, where did they acquire these skills and technologies if there were no visible predecessors? This question remains open to scientists. Unlike the Neanderthals, who led a more primitive lifestyle, the Cro-Magnons exhibited a sharp leap in cultural evolution. Often in caves, one can see traces of red and black paint on damp walls, creating the impression that the artists still live among us. These ancient creations continue to inspire awe, highlighting the mystery and complexity of human history, which seems to have begun in these dark but inspiring places. The skills and ideas embedded in them undoubtedly influenced the further development of human culture. In some caves, archaeologists find traces left by people who may have used these places as sanctuaries or as platforms for teaching and transmitting knowledge, confirming that art and technology evolved within the context of social interactions. Remarkably, ancient builders possessed extraordinary astronomical knowledge, enabling them to accurately align their temples and monuments with solar and lunar events. For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, constructed in the 13th century BC during the reign of Pharaoh Ramses II, is illuminated twice a year, on his birthday and coronation day. At these moments, sunlight penetrates the sanctuary, illuminating the statues of gods and creating a stunning effect of light and shadow that leaves viewers in awe. Similarly, in Mexico, the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza demonstrates its remarkable astronomical effect during the spring and autumn equinoxes. When the sun is in a specific position, an illusion of a moving snake appears on the pyramid steps, as shadows and light create a breathtaking visual effect that leaves viewers spellbound. These structures are not merely stone constructions. They were designed as places of worship and celestial observation, imbuing them with an additional sacred significance. Stonehenge, located in England and dating back to around the 3rd millennium BC, also exhibits its astronomical precision. On the summer solstice, sunlight passes between the ancient stones, creating a unique light and sound spectacle, where shadows and light dance on the faces of viewers, evoking a sense of reverence and connection to ancient ancestors. The hushed whispers of modern viewers standing among these monuments enhance the atmosphere, reminding us that even after thousands of years, these places continue to inspire and amaze. These examples demonstrate how ancient civilizations used astronomical knowledge to create architectural marvels that serve not only practical purposes, but also for spiritual connection to the cosmos. The pyramids in Giza, for example, were built with their sides perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions, as confirmed by modern research. Each angle of the Great Pyramid of Khufu is precisely oriented towards the north, making it one of the most accurate structures of its time. All this astronomical calculation and craftsmanship awaited their moment to astonish us, their descendants, with their majestic simplicity and depth of design. Ancient civilizations possessed remarkable knowledge about the shape of the Earth, and this knowledge existed long before the era of Columbus. For instance, the Pythagoreans in the 6th century BCE began to hypothesize that the Earth was spherical, based on observations of nature and celestial phenomena. They noticed that stars changed their positions in the sky depending on the observer's location, which indicated the curvature of the planet. Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher of the 4th century BCE, provided several arguments in favor of the spherical shape of the Earth. He observed that during lunar eclipses, Earth casts a circular shadow on the Moon's surface, and he also noted that as one travels south, new stars become visible. Eratosthenes, who lived in the 2nd century BCE, conducted a brilliant experiment. He measured the angle of sunlight in two different Egyptian cities, Syene and Alexandria, and, knowing the distance between them, calculated the circumference of the Earth with an accuracy of several hundred kilometers. His calculations showed that the circumference was approximately 62,000 stadia, which is very close to modern data. In the educated circles of ancient civilizations such as Greece, Rome, India, and China, knowledge of the spherical shape of the Earth was not uncommon. For example, in ancient Rome, the poet Virgil mentioned the round shape of the Earth in his works. Observations of ships disappearing over the horizon confirmed this theory. First, the mast disappeared, then the ship itself, which could not be explained if the Earth were flat. Additionally, in ancient times, people also paid attention to the starry sky, where stars revolved around the North Star, creating the illusion of a rotating sky. These observations inspired scientists to further research and study celestial phenomena, leading to the development of astronomy as a science. Overall, ancient knowledge about the spherical shape of the Earth was more advanced than it might initially seem, and it laid the foundation for subsequent discoveries in the fields of geography and astronomy. In one of the ancient Egyptian temples of Hathor in Dendera, mysterious bas-reliefs were discovered, depicting elongated objects that remarkably resemble modern electric lamps. These objects have a characteristic shape, are long and curved, with a dark element inside that can be interpreted as a filament. Adjacent to them are structures resembling wires, which suggest some kind of power source. Some researchers claim that these images could serve as evidence of the existence of electricity in ancient Egypt, challenging traditional notions of technological development in antiquity. However, there is another perspective. According to it, these are symbolic representations of the lotus flower, which was associated with the rising sun and life force, emphasizing the religious aspects of ancient Egyptian thought. In the dimly lit temple, the atmosphere of ancient mystery becomes palpable as the researchers' eyes trace the bas-reliefs which seem to whisper about long-forgotten knowledge. Gilded artifacts and vibrant preserved colors provide evidence that ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of chemistry and electricity. For example, in the 20th century, archaeologists discovered golden and copper artifacts that demonstrate a high degree of skill in metalworking. These artifacts indicate that the technologies used in ancient Egypt may have been much more advanced than commonly believed. Some archaeologists even suggest that simple electrical devices may have been used in this temple for rituals and lighting. Combined with other findings, such as remnants of dyes and vessels that could have contained electrochemical components, this creates an intriguing picture of ancient knowledge that remains largely speculative. The Temple of Hathor in Dendera is not only a place of worship, but also a repository of many mysteries that continue to stir the minds of researchers and history enthusiasts in Imagine a world where culture bursts forth like a star, suddenly illuminating the darkness. Around 4,000 years before our era, in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerian civilization emerged, already possessing a developed system of writing, architecture, and a complex social structure. The Sumerians, who called themselves black-headed due to the black caps they wore on their heads, created the first city-states such as Ur, Uruk, and Lagash, which became centers of trade, religion, and culture. These cities were surrounded by magnificent walls and had sophisticated irrigation systems that allowed them to maximize the use of fertile lands. The Sumerians also developed cuneiform writing, one of the earliest forms of writing, which used reed styluses to inscribe signs on clay tablets. This process produced a characteristic sound, reminiscent of the rustling of reeds, and allowed them to record important events, commercial transactions, and laws. In their writings, the Sumerians mentioned divine beings known as the Anunnaki, who, according to their beliefs, brought knowledge and culture to Earth. This mythology added a certain mystique to their civilization. The Sumerians also made significant achievements in astronomy, observing the movements of planets. They were aware of 5 planets visible to the naked eye and used their observations to develop a calendar based on lunar and solar cycles, which allowed them to accurately predict eclipses and other astronomical phenomena. Their knowledge of celestial bodies was so advanced that they even classified stars and created astronomical tables. In their views of the cosmos and time, there was a deep connection with nature, and their zodiacal system became the basis for many subsequent astronomical systems. On Sumerian tablets, one can find records of medical practices and surgical methods that were quite advanced for their time. One tablet, dated around 2,000 years before our era, describes a procedure known as trepanation, which was believed to help in the treatment of epilepsy. In this context, the Sumerian civilization becomes not just a cultural phenomenon, but a true source of knowledge that continued to influence many peoples and civilizations in the future. In their society, there were specialized classes such as priests and scribes who were responsible for preserving and transmitting knowledge, thus forming the basis for education itself. Archaeological findings, such as the famous Stele of Hammurabi, show that the Sumerians were also the first to develop a system of laws, which became the foundation for legal systems of future civilizations. These facts emphasize that the Sumerian civilization did not arise out of nothing, but became the basis for many subsequent cultures and events that shaped human history. Sumerian culture in its development opened new horizons, paving the way for future achievements in the fields of science, art, and philosophy. In ancient texts from various cultures, there are descriptions of extraordinary and mysterious chariots of the gods, which, according to their authors, were used by deities. For instance, in the Vedas, there are mentions of Vayu, which are described as flying machines emitting bright light and producing loud sounds. These descriptions evoke associations with modern concepts of flying vehicles. In the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, there is also a mention of wheels that moved by the power of the Spirit and were accompanied by fiery flashes and thunderous noises. Sumerian texts, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, also contain references to divine devices that could move through the air and cause strong winds and storms. Against this backdrop, there arises the theory of Erich von Däniken, who suggested that these descriptions could be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. He points to parallels between ancient texts and modern accounts of UFOs, asserting that our ancestors might have interpreted alien technologies as divine phenomena. However, there is also an opposing view that these descriptions are metaphors for natural phenomena such as lightning or thunder, serving as a reflection of humanity's attempt to explain the unknown through the prism of mythology. It is important to note that many researchers tend to understand these texts as symbolic constructs that illustrate not so much real events, but rather the inner experiences and cultural norms of ancient peoples. For example, in the Sumerian myth of the chariot of the god Shamash, the bright glow and noise symbolize his divine power and authority. These images, filled with light and sound, create a sense of grandeur and magic that is impossible to ignore. The convergence of various mythological representations of chariots can serve as an indicator of how humanity has always sought to explain its place in the world and its interaction with the unknown. In Sumer, for instance, there was a concept of god machines, which, according to some researchers, could have been early forms of technology that were not understood by their creators. There is a belief that some of these texts might have been distorted over time, adding elements that do not correspond to the original meaning. Interestingly, in some cultures, descriptions of the wheel were not only imbued with physical properties, but also with spiritual ones, emphasizing the importance of these objects in religious rituals. Ancient priests often used the images of chariots in their ceremonies to create an atmosphere of grandeur and divine presence. Overall, these approaches highlight the complexity and multi-layered nature of the perception of the divine in ancient texts. Today, such research continues to generate interest and debate among scholars and history enthusiasts, as it underscores the importance of understanding the context and cultural specifics in which these textual artifacts were created. Comparing various descriptions of chariots in texts from different cultures allows for the construction of parallels and the identification of common features, which can be beneficial for a deeper understanding of ancient civilizations. As a result, the study of these ancient texts not only reveals the secrets of the past, but also emphasizes the universality of human experience and the drive to explore the unknown. For centuries, ancient secret societies meticulously preserved knowledge that remained inaccessible to the majority. One of the most renowned examples is the Eleusinian cult, which existed in ancient Greece from the beginning of the first millennium BCE. The mysteries of Eleusis were connected to the veneration of the goddess Demeter and her daughter Persephone. These rituals included complex initiations that took place in secret locations, where participants were immersed in esoteric knowledge about life, death, and rebirth. During these initiations, newcomers took an oath of silence, committing never to reveal what they had learned, which created an atmosphere of exclusivity and secrecy. The Pythagorean society, founded by Pythagoras in the 6th century BCE, also had its secrets. Members of this society studied mathematics, music, astronomy, and philosophy, adhering to strict rules and rituals. They used symbolic gestures and passwords that were passed down through generations, creating a sense of connection to ancient knowledge. Pythagoreans believed that numbers were the foundation of the universe and sought to understand harmony through the study of numbers and their relationships. The cult of Mithras, which became popular in the Roman Empire, also had its secret rituals. Mithraism emerged in the 1st century CE and was based on the veneration of the god Mithras, who, according to legend, killed a sacred bull, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness. Initiation into the cult of Mithras involved numerous stages, each revealing new levels of knowledge and understanding, making the initiation process long and complex. Participants gathered in underground temples by the light of torches, performing rituals based on ancient myths, creating an atmosphere of sacred mystery. Secret societies not only preserved practical knowledge such as medicine and astronomy, but also philosophical ideas about the nature of reality and the human soul. This exchange of knowledge created a continuous thread of tradition linking ancient civilizations with modern quests for meaning and understanding. The intricate and mysterious structure of secret societies demonstrates how knowledge can be both a tool of power and a means of spiritual development. The Eleusinian mysteries, Pythagorean teachings, and the cult of Mithras are vivid examples of how ancient societies sought truth and meaning in a world shrouded in mystery and secrecy. The cultures that participated in these rituals left behind a legacy that continues to evoke interest and admiration. The mysteries of Eleusis, for instance, continue to be performed for many centuries, even after the advent of Christianity, and their influence was felt until late antiquity. Thus, secret societies did not merely exist, they shaped the thinking of entire epochs. One of the most enigmatic figures of ancient Egypt is Queen Nefertiti, whose name and image continue to spark numerous questions and debates among historians and archaeologists. Nefertiti was not just the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, but also an active participant in his religious revolution, which took place in the 14th century BCE. She became a symbol of the new monotheistic cult centered around the worship of the sun disk, Aton. Images of Nefertiti found on reliefs and statues confirm that she was not only beautiful, but also influential for her time. The legendary statue of Nefertiti, discovered by archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt in 1912, showcases her idealized image with perfectly symmetrical facial features and a crown, making her one of the most famous artifacts of antiquity. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, mentions of Nefertiti suddenly cease, giving rise to various theories about her fate. Some researchers suggest she may have perished during an epidemic that swept through Egypt at the time. Others propose her possible exile or name change, which could have allowed her to rule under the name Smenkhkare as a co-regent, or even as a sole ruler. A significant discovery is the mysterious mummy known as Younger Lady, found in the tomb KV35 in the Valley of the Kings, which some researchers believe could be the mummy of Nefertiti. However, the identification of the mummy remains a subject of debate. Modern technologies such as computed tomography have allowed for the examination of the mummy, but definitive conclusions about her identity have not yet been made. The search for Nefertiti's tomb continues today, and while some suggest she may be hidden in a secret chamber within Tutankhamun's tomb, these are currently just hypotheses. Ultimately, Nefertiti remains one of the most charismatic and enigmatic figures of the ancient world, symbolizing not only beauty but also political power, which, like the queen herself, has vanished without a trace. In the dense jungles of Yucatan, the mysterious city of Mérida hides, a place where architecture embodies a blend of Mayan, Toltec, and many other cultural styles. The walls of Mérida's ancient buildings, covered in greenery, seem to tell the story of interactions between various civilizations. This was once a place where life thrived and may have served as a significant trading and cultural hub, connecting peoples hundreds of kilometers apart. Archaeologists exploring this region have uncovered numerous artifacts that support theories of distant contacts. For instance, in 2005, during excavations, unique ceramic vessels with Olmec-style decorations were found, indicating trade links with this ancient civilization. Buildings like the Church of St. John the Baptist are a striking example of the fusion of styles. Here, one can see elements characteristic of both classic Mayan and late Toltec influences. They used local limestone, giving the buildings a majestic appearance. Mérida showcases intricate carvings that not only served as decoration, but also had ritual significance, reflecting the beliefs and customs of various peoples. The atmosphere of the place is filled with the sounds of the tropical forest, birdsong and the rustling of leaves, creating a sense that time has stopped. The diverse vegetation surrounding the ancient walls fills the air with the scent of flowers and vines, making a walk among the ruins an unforgettable experience. Excavations continue, and each discovered artifact adds new chapters to the history of this extraordinary city. In 2019, researchers found unusual stone tablets with hieroglyphs that remain undeciphered, adding more intrigue to the mysteries surrounding Mérida. Each new day brings fresh discoveries that could change our understanding of this enigmatic place. In 2020, an archaeological team discovered remnants of unusual construction structures that they believe could have been part of a water supply system, indicating a high level of engineering skill among the local inhabitants. Merida remains an unsolved mystery, filled with secrets waiting to be revealed. Its architectural heritage continues to attract not only tourists, but also scholars from around the world, eager to unravel the mysteries hidden within the dense jungle greenery and among the stone walls. Legends about the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis, one of the 7 wonders of the world, often seem more real than the facts. According to descriptions by ancient authors, these gardens were a complex system of terraces supported by columns that rose up to 20 meters high. Designed to create the illusion of a green oasis in the heart of Babylon's desert, where heat and dryness reigned, the gardens were likely built using a sophisticated irrigation system that brought water from the Euphrates River to sustain exotic plants blooming on the terraces. This system could have included water lifts similar to those used in ancient Egypt, as well as channels distributing water across all levels of the gardens. Despite their fame and detailed descriptions, archaeological excavations conducted since the 19th century have not yielded definitive remains of these wonders, sparking debates about whether the gardens truly existed or were merely a myth. Many researchers, such as Graham Farrell and Jonathan Taylor, have proposed that the gardens might have been located somewhere other than Babylon, as the lack of artifacts casts doubt on their reality. Imagining these gardens, one can picture the vibrant colors of exotic plants, their aromas mingling with the coolness of water flowing through the channels. The shade provided by dense trees offered respite from the scorching sun, while the contrast of the greenery against the surrounding desert emphasized the uniqueness of this place. Some researchers argue that even if the Hanging Gardens did not exist, the ideas behind them had a profound impact on architecture and gardening in subsequent centuries. Various cultures, from Romans to Persians, were inspired by the concept of creating green spaces in arid regions, which underscores the significance of this myth in history. In the 18th century, French King Louis XIV, inspired by tales of Semiramis's gardens, began constructing the Versailles Gardens, which became a symbol of power and grandeur. The abundance of plants, water, and shady spots became not only an aesthetic, but also a functional element that continues to amaze people to this day. Scientific research on the Hanging Gardens continues, and each new discovery can change our understanding of ancient Babylon. Studying these myths and realities helps us understand how ancient peoples used nature to create unique and inspiring spaces that could continue to astonish and inspire future generations. The Great Sphinx of Giza is a monumental structure that has been observing the world for more than 4,000 years. Its length is 17 meters and its height reaches 20 meters. The Sphinx is carved from a single block of limestone, making it not only massive but also a durable monument of ancient civilization. It is believed to have been created during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, around 2,500 years before our era. There are many theories about its function. Some researchers believe that the Sphinx served as a guardian of the necropolis, others see it as a symbol of the solar deity, and some think it served as an astronomical marker, indicating important events in the solar cycle. The story of Tutmosis's dream adds an element of mystery to the already enigmatic figure. According to legend, Pharaoh Tutmosis IV, exhausted from hunting, fell asleep at the feet of the Sphinx. In his dream, he saw the Sphinx speaking to him. "Free me from the sand, and I will reward you." This legend adds an air of mystique to the already mysterious figure. Furthermore, hidden chambers may lie beneath the Sphinx's paws which have not yet been explored, leaving open questions about its purpose. The weathered stone of the Sphinx has absorbed history over the centuries, and its face reflects the play of light and shadow depending on the time of day, creating an atmosphere of eternity and mystery. In the morning, the sun's rays touch its features, emphasizing the details, while in the evening, shadows conceal its secrets, leaving viewers pondering what else may be hidden beneath its ancient pores. This ancient structure continues to be an object of study and admiration, and its size and shape inspire respect for the skill of the ancient Egyptians. The height of the Sphinx at 20 meters is comparable to the 6-meter ceilings of modern buildings, emphasizing its grandeur and majesty. Imagine ancient cities where water flows through canals, sustaining the lives of millions. The Roman aqueducts, built in the 1st century BC, were an outstanding engineering feat, transporting water over distances of up to 100 kilometers. These monumental structures, with their arches towering over valleys, not only supplied city dwellers with water, but also served as symbols of the power of the Roman Empire. Water carried by the aqueducts came from the purest sources, and its gentle murmur could be heard for miles from the source. Mohenjo-daro, one of the oldest civilizations in India, had an intricate drainage system dating back around 2000 years BC. This city featured both straight and inclined channels that connected to homes, and wastewater was efficiently drained into the system, keeping streets relatively clean. This system demonstrated a high level of sanitation and hygiene standards for its time. The Cretan water supply systems built by the Minoans also showcased their craftsmanship. Terracotta pipes carried water from mountain sources to homes and public buildings. Minoan toilets with flushing systems and public baths in Rome, where people gathered not only for washing but also for socializing, were clear evidence of the importance of water in the lives of ancient people. Picture the coolness of underground cisterns where water was kept in the shade, and the echo in the vaulted rooms of Roman baths where every sound reminded of grandeur and luxury. The purity of running water contrasted with the dusty streets where people and animals bustled, creating a constant stream of life and activity. Romans took pride in their water supply systems, which not only improved the quality of life, but also contributed to the development of cities. According to historians, in the 1st century AD, Rome had more than 12 aqueducts that daily supplied around 1 million cubic meters of water, forming the basis for the operation of public baths and fountains, creating a unique atmosphere in the city. Imagine an ensemble of colossal stone blocks standing on an open expanse of the English landscape, where every morning the wind whispers its ancient secrets. Stonehenge, this enigmatic megalithic complex built around 3,000 years before our era, continues to raise numerous questions about its purpose and construction methods. Scientific research indicates that some of the stones weighed up to 50 tons, and their transportation could have been carried out from distances of up to 240 kilometers. This raises the question, how could ancient people have managed such a task without modern technologies? One of the theories suggests that Stonehenge was used as an observatory, where ancient astronomers tracked the movement of the sun and moon. For example, on the summer solstice, sunlight penetrates through the open spaces between the stones, creating an effect that could be used to determine the time of year. Other researchers believe that this complex served as a ritual center where ceremonies related to the worship of gods or ancestors were conducted. A third version points to the possible use of Stonehenge as a healing place where people came for help and healing. The astronomical alignment of the stones is also intriguing. They are arranged in precise accordance with certain astronomical phenomena, which may indicate deep knowledge of astronomy among ancient people. Research shows that the structure of Stonehenge could have been connected to the cycle of the solar and lunar annual calendar, which is confirmed by findings from excavations. The wind passing between the obelisks creates sounds that can be compared to the whisper of ancient spirits, and the coolness emanating from the stones reminds us of the time when they were placed here. These stones, like guardians of secrets, were gathered from local quarries and perhaps even from more distant regions, requiring significant effort and organization. Within this complex, one can feel a special atmosphere that is captivating and makes one ponder the true purpose of its creation. Researchers such as Dr. Timothy Darvill from Brunel University claim that Stonehenge could have served multiple functions simultaneously, making it a unique monument not only for Britain but for the whole of humanity. Moreover, over the centuries, Stonehenge has attracted the attention of many researchers, from archaeologists to astronomers, each trying to unravel its mysteries. It is difficult not to note that this complex has become a symbol of an ancient civilization with deep knowledge of the world and humanity. Stonehenge continues to be an object of study where each new discovery can shed light on its purpose and construction methods. Astronomers and archaeologists continue to investigate it to understand how ancient people could have created such a monumental structure and how it could have been used in their daily life. Scientific data confirm that on certain days of the year, such as the winter and summer solstices, Stonehenge becomes a center of attention for many people seeking to connect with its history. Thus, despite all attempts to decipher its secrets, Stonehenge remains one of the most mysterious structures of antiquity, and its grandeur continues to inspire generations of researchers and travelers. Civilizations located at vast distances from one another often astound us with their unexpected connections and similarities, which make us ponder how these parallels could have come about. For instance, in ancient Egypt, Mesoamerica, and China, pyramids were built, and although each of these cultures had their unique traditions and technologies, their architectural solutions exhibit remarkable similarity. Egyptian pyramids, such as the Great Pyramid in Giza, constructed around 2,500 years before our era, served as tombs for pharaohs and reflected their belief in an afterlife. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerica, pyramids like the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan were used for rituals and worship of gods and were built around the first millennium of our era. Simultaneously in China, pyramids in the Lunmen region have their roots in ancient Buddhism and date back to the 3rd century of our era. This raises questions. How and why did these different cultures arrive at similar architectural forms? Solar symbolism also plays a significant role in these civilizations. For example, in Mesoamerica, the sun was considered the source of life, and its veneration was reflected in structures like temples oriented towards the sunrise. In Egypt, the solar cult was an integral part of religion, representing the god Ra, who was reborn every day in the east. In China, solar symbolism also has deep roots, where the sun was seen as a symbol of power and imperial status. These symbols, despite cultural differences, demonstrate how key elements of life and belief can be similar across different peoples. Myths about the flood also present another intriguing aspect that unites various ancient cultures. In Sumerian mythology, the story of Gilgamesh, who sets out in search of immortality and encounters a great flood similar to the biblical flood, in which Noah saves his family and animals, is told. In Mesoamerica, there is a flood myth described in the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, in which gods destroy the first attempts at creating humanity. This raises questions about whether these stories could be the result of knowledge exchange between cultures or have common roots stretching back into the depths of history. In the scientific community, various theories exist to explain these similarities. Diffusionism, for example, posits that cultural elements spread through contact between peoples. The idea of an ancient mother civilization is also popular, suggesting that all known civilizations have common roots, possibly in the form of a highly developed culture that existed thousands of years ago. Some researchers, such as American archaeologist Graham Hancock, propose that ancient technologies and knowledge could have been lost but still have an impact on architecture and mythology. It is interesting to note that in different parts of the world at the same time, advanced technologies emerged. For instance, in ancient Egypt, complex measurement methods were used to ensure accuracy in the construction of pyramids, while in Mesoamerica, builders applied mathematical concepts to create their structures, such as pyramids, in accordance with astronomical phenomena. In China, unique techniques were developed, such as the use of bamboo in construction and complex irrigation systems that ensured high crop yields. Thus, when we look at these remarkable cultural parallels, we get a sense that humanity, despite geographical barriers, moves along similar paths, creating a sense of mystery around the global connections that could have existed in the distant past. Scientific research, such as the work of archaeologist and anthropologist Jared Diamond, who studies the interaction of cultures and their development, underscores that these connections between civilizations may not be merely coincidental, but reflect a deep human need to understand the world and its mechanisms. Ziggurats, these magnificent step towers of ancient Mesopotamia, served not only as architectural landmarks but also as symbols of religious and cultural life. Their height could reach 90 meters, and their form resembled staircases leading to the heavens, creating the impression that they were striving to connect Earth and the divine. The construction of ziggurats was made of fired clay bricks, which were faced with glazed tiles, creating bright and striking facades. The most famous ziggurat is Etemenanki in Babylon, which, according to ancient texts, was dedicated to the god Marduk. Its summit, as believed, served as a temple where rituals were performed, and ziggurats could also serve other functions. There are various theories about their purpose. Some researchers suggest that they were astronomical observatories from which priests observed the stars and calculated time, while others believe that ziggurats could serve as shelters during floods, providing a safe place for residents. There is also the opinion that they symbolize the cosmic mountain, linking the heavenly and earthly realms. Climbing their monumental staircases, one feels approaching the heavens, and from the upper platform, one can enjoy a breathtaking view of the surrounding city. Narrow streets and houses, covered by long shadows cast by the ziggurat at sunset. This creates an atmosphere of a sacred place where heaven and earth meet, and time seems to stand still. Ziggurats not only dominated the landscape but also served as places of worship where ancient Mesopotamians sought connection with the gods, and their grandeur continues to impress archaeologists and historians to this day. More than 100 ziggurats were built throughout Mesopotamia, with the most famous ones located in Ur, Nineveh, and Babylon, each possessing unique architecture and history. The Sphinx in Giza, with its silent majesty, seems to guard secrets that may be far deeper than we usually think. There are theories suggesting that this monument could be older than the officially recognized age of 4,500 years. Geologists like Robert Schoch argue that the erosion marks on the body of the Sphinx, including deep indentations and cracks, indicate exposure to heavy rainfall. These rains could have occurred during a period when Egypt's climate was significantly wetter, which, according to them, hints that the Sphinx might have been created more than 10,000 years ago when this region experienced rainfall rather than the current barren desert. The erosion that has left its marks on the stone creates a sense of antiquity, as if the Sphinx itself has become a victim of time, playing hide and seek with it. Furthermore, its astronomical orientation towards the constellation Leo in the era of 10,500 years before our time underscores its connection to ancient cosmological knowledge. At the time when the Sphinx was likely built, this constellation was on the eastern horizon on the day of the vernal equinox. Light filtering through clouds gently touches its weathered face, creating a play of light and shadow that highlights every crack and indentation, as if the stone itself whispers about forgotten times. This contrast between light and shadow, between eternity and transience, makes the viewer ponder how many secrets are hidden behind its calm gaze. The Sphinx, with its bashful expression, may not be just a guardian of tombs, but a symbol of lost knowledge and wisdom, leaving behind only questions without answers. Research conducted in the last decades shows that many architectural and geological aspects of the Sphinx may point to a much more complex history than previously thought. Long debates among scientists and archaeologists confirm that the true age of the Sphinx may not only be a subject of study, but also a real challenge to our understanding of ancient civilizations. Arguments about climate changes and astronomical orientation create a new paradigm for understanding this mysterious structure. The Sphinx, the giant guardian, continues to observe the world, remaining at the center of numerous theories and disputes, which, like a mosaic, form images of ancient times. Scientific research conducted in recent years reveals new details, uncovering the richness of its history. In particular, the use of georadars and other technologies allows us to look beneath the surface and learn more about what this stone, standing at the threshold of time, hides. There are many questions about how and why the Sphinx was built, and it seems that with each new discovery, we are getting closer to unraveling its ancient secret. These studies may help shed light on the culture and technologies of ancient Egypt, which remain largely mysterious and unexplained. Amazing knowledge about celestial phenomena was characteristic of many ancient civilizations, and their achievements in astronomy continue to inspire awe. For example, the Maya, who lived in Central America, created a calendar that allowed them to calculate the length of the solar year with an accuracy of up to 20 seconds. They used their observations of the sun, moon, and stars to compile complex tables that helped in predicting eclipses and other astronomical events. This was not just a hobby. They linked their observations with religious rituals, giving their astronomical knowledge special significance. The Babylonians, located in the territory of modern Iraq, also achieved remarkable success in astronomy. They were the first to predict lunar eclipses based on cycles of eclipses known as series. Their eclipse tables, dating back to around the 6th century BC, demonstrate a deep understanding of cyclic natural phenomena and their interrelationships. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland created unique megalithic structures designed so that the sun would illuminate their inner spaces only on the day of the winter solstice. This event, occurring on December 21st, was important for the agricultural calendar of ancient peoples, symbolizing the rebirth of light and the beginning of a new cycle. In this context, the night sky, filled with stars, served not only as a source of inspiration but also as a practical tool for planning daily life. Ancient observers, sitting in silence in temple observatories, gazed at the vast expanse, marveling at the grandeur of celestial bodies and their movements. Such structures as Stonehenge also had astronomical significance, serving as a kind of calendar and observatory. No less interesting is the Antikythera mechanism, found in the waters off Greece in the early 20th century, which is an ancient device for calculating the movements of celestial bodies. This mechanism, dating back to the 1st century BC, consisted of a complex system of gears and was capable of predicting the positions of the sun and moon, as well as eclipses. Its creation required outstanding engineering skills for its time, demonstrating how deep the astronomical knowledge of ancient civilizations was. In essence, this device was an analog of the first mechanical calculators used for astronomical calculations. The sky that ancient peoples gazed upon was not just an object of admiration, but a vast map on which they found answers to many questions about their existence and place in the world. There are myths about the curse of the pharaohs that have frightened and fascinated people for centuries. One of the most famous cases occurred after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavations, died shortly after the tomb was opened. His death occurred in April 1923, just a few months after the archaeologists entered the tomb. Lord Carnarvon was bitten by mosquitoes, and despite receiving medical treatment, his health rapidly deteriorated. He died from blood poisoning, and rumors of the pharaoh's curse spread quickly. Local residents claimed that the tomb was guarded by spirits who avenged those who disturbed their peace. Carnarvon's death caused a wave of panic among the other expedition members. More deaths followed, including that of archaeologist George Gay, who also died under mysterious circumstances. Some died from diseases, others from accidents, adding to the mystery of the case. However, scientific explanations also exist. Researchers point out that the tombs could have contained toxic mold fungi that release toxic spores. These spores can cause various diseases, including lung infections. Other scientists emphasize the psychosomatic effects, where fear and stress can lead to real physical ailments. Archaeologists entering the musty air of ancient burial chambers encounter various sensations. The dim light of torches casts shadows on hieroglyphic warnings written on the walls, creating an atmosphere of unease and uncertainty. These inscriptions, warning not to disturb the dead, can evoke feelings of fear and even paranoia in researchers. Ancient Egyptians believed that pharaohs continued to live in the afterlife, and any interference could provoke the wrath not only of the gods, but also of the dead themselves. Considering all these factors, it is not surprising that the pharaoh's curse continues to be a subject of discussion and rumors. There are many other mysterious cases associated with the opening of other tombs and archaeological finds where expedition members encountered various misfortunes. For example, in 1932, after the opening of the tomb of Pharaoh Seti I, several expedition members' health rapidly deteriorated, which was also linked to the curse. All these circumstances surrounding the discovery of ancient tombs create an atmosphere of the unknown and dangerous, attracting both scholars and adventurers. Over the centuries, the myth of the curse has become an integral part of culture and history, inspiring literature and cinema, and continues to generate interest among people worldwide. The pharaoh's curse is not just a fabrication, it is a symbol of fear of the unknown, as well as a reminder that ancient civilizations left behind not only material, but also mystical legacies. Tombs filled with mysteries and riddles continue to keep their secrets, and each new artifact or discovery only adds fuel to the fire of discussions and myths. In this context, it is worth mentioning that in 1933, after the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb, a group of researchers working in Luxor encountered a series of strange events, including sudden illnesses and even disappearances. These incidents also left their mark on the perception of ancient tombs as places filled with mysteries and dangers. It's hard to imagine, but the construction of the Egyptian pyramids raises so many questions that some of them remain unanswered even after several thousand years. The Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of the surviving ones, consists of more than 2 million stone blocks, each weighing up to 80 tons. These blocks were so precisely cut that the gaps between them do not exceed 1 millimeter, making the fitting of the stones an outstanding achievement of the ancient builders. The orientation of the pyramids towards the cardinal directions is also remarkable. The sides of the Pyramid of Khufu point almost perfectly towards the cardinal directions, with an error of only a few degrees. This was achieved through the use of astronomical observations, which allowed the ancient Egyptians to accurately determine east and west. Researchers have proposed various theories about how these massive blocks were moved to the construction site. One of the most common theories suggests the use of ramps, along which the stones were raised with the help of slaves and animals. Other historians point to the existence of complex systems of levers that could facilitate the lifting and moving of the stones. There are also hypotheses that the blocks could have been transported by waterways using the Nile, which significantly eased their movement over long distances. The work was carried out under the scorching sun of the desert, with the atmosphere filled with the sounds of the stones grinding and the sweat dripping from the foreheads of thousands of workers who were mercilessly tormented by the high temperatures. The scent of limestone filled the air, mixed with the smell of sweat and fatigue, and the shadows cast by the magnificent pyramids at sunset created the illusion that the pyramids themselves were watching the labor of their creators. These monumental structures stand as evidence not only of engineering genius, but also of the enormous efforts expended on their construction. The Pyramid of Khufu, for example, was built around 2,500 years before our era, and it continues to inspire awe with its grandeur and precision. In the heart of the highlands of Bolivia, on the plateau of Tiwanaku, stand the renowned Gateway of the Sun, which inspires awe with its magnitude and architectural complexity. This monumental portal reaches a height of approximately 3 meters and a width of 4 meters, crafted from andesite weighing around 10 tons. The central element, a bas-relief, depicts a god with rays, fittingly, as this image may signify a deep connection to the sun cults of ancient peoples. Surrounding it are enigmatic symbols that continue to spark debate among scholars. Some researchers suggest that this portal served as an astronomical marker for determining equinoxes and solstices. The Gateway of the Sun is precisely aligned with the sunrise on the winter solstice, underscoring its significance as an astronomical structure. The location of the gateway is surrounded by the rare air of the highlands, creating a unique atmosphere, and the play of light and shadow on the carved surfaces imbues this space with a sacred character. Each detail of the portal is imbued with symbolism, making it not just an architectural object, but a true sacred space where ancient cultures expressed their beliefs and understanding of nature. Surrounding the central figure are other carved elements that may symbolize various aspects of the cosmos and time, although their precise meaning remains a subject of debate among historians and archaeologists. Some researchers even propose that the Gateway of the Sun was used in rituals related to agriculture, highlighting its importance for the communities that once inhabited these lands. Notably, Tiwanaku itself was a significant cultural and religious center that existed from around 2000 BCE to 1000 CE. The presence of such monuments as the Gateway of the Sun attests to the high level of knowledge and skill of the local inhabitants in architecture and astronomy, making this object unique in human history. Each visit to this place fills one with the spirit of ancient history, prompting reflection on the many secrets still hidden within the stones. In the scorching desert of Peru lies the mysterious Nazca Lines, enormous geoglyphs depicting animals, plants, and complex geometric figures. These gigantic drawings, some of which stretch up to 370 meters in length, were likely created between the 3rd century BC and the 8th century AD. They were carved into the surface of the desert by removing the upper layer of black stones and exposing the lighter soil beneath. Due to the region's arid climate, with almost no rainfall, these images have remained in remarkably good condition for centuries. For instance, geometric figures such as triangles and straight lines exhibit extraordinary precision and symmetry, raising questions about the capabilities of ancient designers. Researchers propose various theories about the purpose of these geoglyphs. Some suggest they could have been a calendar for tracking solar and lunar cycles, while others believe they might have been maps of water sources, indicating locations where water could be found in this harsh climate. There is also a theory that the lines served as ritual paths along which ancient inhabitants performed ceremonies or sent messages to gods invoking higher powers for rain or harvest. Walking through these desolate expanses, one feels the heat that burns the skin and the wind whispers, raising fine sand and creating a stark contrast between the lifeless landscape and the elegance of the images that seem to come alive in their grandeur. Meanwhile, research conducted by American archaeologist Paul Kosok in the 1970s confirmed the systematic planning in the creation of these figures. COSOC found that some of them align with specific astronomical events, adding more mysteries to the already intriguing history of the Nazca Lines. Today, these geoglyphs are protected by UNESCO and continue to attract the attention of scientists and tourists from around the world, all eager to unravel the secrets they hold. The Nazca Lines are not just geometric figures on sand, they are a legacy of ancient cultures that have left their mark on human history, and their significance continues to be debated among researchers. In the caves of Liguria in northern Italy, there are rock paintings that have sparked numerous debates among researchers. These images, dating back approximately 10,000 years, depict strange figures resembling modern submersibles. Some of them feature contours that resemble streamlined hulls with windows and even periscopes, raising questions about whether ancient people could have seen and imagined something similar to contemporary submarines. These paintings were discovered in the early 2000s by a group of Italian archaeologists led by Professor Giorgio Ferrari, who noted that such images could be the result of deep observations of the surrounding nature. The coolness of the caves where these artifacts were found creates a unique atmosphere. The dim light and the quiet sound of dripping water enhance the sense of mystery. Researchers offer various interpretations of these images. Some believe they are evidence of ancient technologies that could have existed long before our era. Others propose more rational explanations, asserting that they are stylized depictions of boats or even animals, such as fish or marine mammals, which could have been part of the mythology and cultural practices of the time. Viewing these artifacts raises questions about how ancient people perceived their environment and used images to convey knowledge. These paintings not only leave traces in the history of art, but also open a window into the world of ancient beliefs and technologies. Each of these paintings could have served not only as an artistic expression, but also as a practical tool for conveying knowledge about navigation and sea voyages. It is interesting that in some records it is mentioned that the caves were used as sanctuaries, and it is possible that these images were part of rituals related to the sea. Comparison with other rock art shows that on different continents, such as Australia or Alaska, there are similar images which may indicate a similarity in cultural representations of water and travel. According to researchers, this underscores the universality of human striving to explore marine spaces. The discovered paintings confirm that people in that era already had an understanding of watercraft, which changes our understanding of their technological capabilities. Comparison with modern submersibles raises questions about how rich the imagination of ancient people was and how it could have influenced their way of life. These artifacts serve as important evidence that throughout the centuries, humans have sought ways to interact with their environment, and their significance goes beyond simple art, becoming part of a broader cultural context. Currently, research continues, and each new analysis of the paintings can bring fresh ideas about ancient life, opening new horizons for understanding human history. Comparison with similar findings around the world suggests that such images could have been part of a universal human experience related to the sea and travel. In this context, the Ligurian rock paintings become not just artifacts but true keys to understanding the evolution of human thought and technology. Imagine holding in your hands an ancient artifact which might be the first known device for generating electricity. The Baghdad battery, dating back to around 250 years before our era, is a clay vessel about 20 centimeters tall. Inside this vessel is a copper cylinder with an iron rod, which, it is believed, could have been used to create an electric current. When the vessel is filled with an electrolyte, such as vinegar or lemon juice, it can generate a small voltage measured in several volts. Experiments conducted by modern scientists have confirmed that with the right solution in this device, one can observe phenomena resembling electric current. Research shows that such a construction could have been used for galvanization, allowing ancient craftsmen to coat less precious metals with a layer of more valuable metal, creating the appearance of gold or silver on the surface. Some theories suggest that the Baghdad battery could also have been used for medical purposes, possibly for treating diseases through electrical stimulation. Others claim that its use might have been related to religious rituals, where a small current could create an illusion of miracles. Imagine how this tarnished metal would feel heavy in the hands of an ancient person, and the slight tingling sensation upon contact with the working device would not only cause surprise but also fear. The very existence of such a device in antiquity challenges traditional notions of the technological progress of ancient civilizations. Given that the Baghdad battery was found in Iraq, on the territory of ancient Mesopotamia, the question of how exactly it was used and by whom remains open. It is important to note that there is still no consensus among scientists regarding the purpose of this artifact, and each new discovery only adds more mysteries to the existing ones. The Baghdad battery is not just an exhibit of ancient technology, it is a symbol of human ingenuity's potential. There are even debates about whether it could have been the basis for more complex electrical devices if technology had developed in a different direction. To this day, despite all the research and experiments, the Baghdad battery remains an unsolved mystery, inspiring awe and bewilderment in those who try to understand how ancient people could reach such levels of knowledge about nature and its laws. Each new study of this artifact opens new horizons for debate and discussion, highlighting the diversity and complexity of human history. The Baghdad battery is not just a museum exhibit, it is a window into a world where scientific knowledge and magic could coexist, and ancient masters used their knowledge to create extraordinary things. Scientific experiments show that even with a simple device like the Baghdad battery, remarkable results could be achieved, which today seem astonishing. At the depths of the Bermuda Triangle on the eastern side of the Bahamas lies a mysterious structure that at first glance resembles an ancient road paved with regular rectangular blocks. These stone formations, located at a depth of about 15 meters, create a clear outline that raises many questions among archaeologists and researchers. There are two main theories about the origin of this structure. Some believe it to be the remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, while others claim it to be ordinary geological formations created by natural processes. In 1930, the famous American psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that remains of Atlantis would be found in this area, adding another layer of mystery to the already intriguing story. Research into this underwater road is conducted not only by scientists, but also by diving enthusiasts who describe their dive as a journey into another world. Sunlight penetrating the water creates a magical play of light, illuminating swaying seaweed that wraps around the massive stone blocks. The water whispers softly as if sharing its ancient secrets, and researchers, immersed in this spectacle, feel part of something great and inaccessible. Every movement in this watery environment fills the atmosphere with mystique, emphasizing the hidden connections between human myths and natural phenomena. The structure, as if frozen in time, continues to intrigue and spark debate. 80 years ago in 1930, the first diver to encounter this anomaly could not have imagined that its discovery would ignite such controversial discussions. Proponents of the Atlantis theory suggest that such constructions could have been part of the developing infrastructure of a highly advanced civilization, while skeptics point out that such formations can also arise from natural processes such as erosion or sedimentary deposits. Scientific research conducted in recent decades has not been able to definitively confirm either theory, only fueling interest in this place. Researchers continue to make underwater recordings and analyze data in an attempt to unravel the mystery of the Bimini Road. No findings can be considered final until more evidence is presented to support or refute existing hypotheses. The object remains in the spotlight of both scientists and adventure seekers who strive to solve this underwater enigma, which has become a symbol of humanity's desire to understand its past. The Library of Alexandria was not merely a repository of knowledge, but a true symbol of the intellectual prowess of the ancient world. Its walls housed up to 700,000 scrolls, comprising a collection of works across various branches of science and art. Founded in the 3rd century BC by Ptolemy the Big Sota, the library gathered and organized texts from the known world. Each ship arriving at the port of Alexandria underwent meticulous inspection. Copies of all texts were made to enrich the library's collection. This process involved numerous scholars and scribes who tirelessly worked, copying scrolls and creating an atmosphere of quiet, rustling papyrus mixed with the aroma of fresh parchment. Softly glowing oil lamps illuminated the ancient texts, fostering a unique atmosphere of concentration and inspiration. Despite these efforts, the library faced numerous threats. The fire that broke out during Julius Caesar's siege of Alexandria in 42 BC is considered one of the most devastating events in its history, with a significant portion of the collection destroyed. However, this is not the only account of its demise. According to another version, after the city was conquered by the Caliph Omar in the 7th century AD, the library was destroyed on his orders. He reportedly said that if the texts contradicted the Quran, they were not needed, and if they agreed, they were superfluous. Many researchers believe that the library also suffered from gradual decline. Lack of funding and focus on new forms of knowledge led to its decreasing significance over time. Not only were the scrolls lost, but also the very idea that knowledge could be preserved and passed down through generations. The Library of Alexandria became a victim not only of physical destruction, but also of oblivion, leaving behind only shadows that continue to stir the minds of researchers and history enthusiasts. There is much debate about how much knowledge was lost forever. Scholars still cannot accurately assess what part of the world's heritage was lost with the destruction of this great library. Ancient medical practices reveal a fascinating world filled with unexpected knowledge and skills that seemingly were only accessible to modern surgeons. One such example is trepanation, which was performed as early as the Neolithic period, around 7,000 years ago. Archaeologists have discovered skulls with characteristic holes made using stone or bronze tools, such as drills and knives. This procedure involved drilling holes in the skull to treat various ailments, including headaches and epilepsy. Remarkably, many patients survived these operations, as evidenced by signs of healing on the found skulls, where it is clear that the bones regenerated after the intervention. In Pompeii, archaeologists found medical instruments such as scalpels, forceps, and even clamps used for surgical operations. These tools indicate that ancient physicians possessed a relatively advanced knowledge of anatomy and surgery. Egyptian medical papyri, such as the Ebers papyrus, describe not only surgical methods but also the use of herbs for healing. These texts mention anesthetics derived from opium and other plants, whose scent still evokes associations with ancient medicine. Ayurveda, the traditional Indian medicine, developed over more than 3,000 years of experience and includes a wide range of practices, from surgery to phytotherapy. Here, too, plant extracts were used as sedatives to help patients endure complex procedures like trepanation. It is hard to imagine the sound of tools scraping against bone and the mixture of pain and hope for healing when patients lay on tables, knowing their lives depended on the surgeon's skill. These ancient practices, despite their primitive tools and methods, demonstrate how far medicine has advanced. Trepanation, which would seem like madness today, was a step towards understanding and treating diseases of which we are not even aware. The presence of healing scars on skulls confirms that ancient physicians not only knew how to operate, but also cared for their patients. Thus, in the early 12th century BC in Egypt, we see surgeons beginning to use more complex methods, including stitches made from plant materials to close wounds after operations. Ancient rock art found worldwide often raises more questions than answers, and among them are depictions that can be interpreted as representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations. In particular, in the caves of Sierra de la Luna in Argentina and on the Nazca Plateau in Peru, researchers have discovered strange figures reminiscent of astronauts in spacesuits. These images, dating back 4,000 years before our era, cause bewilderment and raise the question of possible contact between ancient people and cosmic beings. Vedic texts, such as the Mahabharata, describe vimanas, flying machines that could move both in the air and underwater. Mentions of such devices in the context of ancient Indian mythology are astonishing, as they may indicate the existence of advanced technologies that were not available at the time. Additionally, in Mayan culture, figures resembling cosmonauts are mentioned, and images of flying saucers appear on medieval frescoes in European churches, such as in the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican. Proponents of the paleo-contact theory often base their arguments on the sudden appearance of highly developed civilizations and their technologies, such as the construction of pyramids, which were built using methods unknown at the time. For example, the Egyptian pyramids, built around 2,500 years before our era, demonstrate architectural solutions that remain a mystery to historians and architects. Critics of this theory argue that such explanations overly simplify complex processes of cultural exchange and development. The scientific community insists that civilizations could reach such heights through their own inventions and efforts, not due to external intervention. Nevertheless, the mystery remains. How could ancient people perceive encounters with beings possessing advanced technologies, a sense of awe, fear, and bewilderment before such phenomena could have formed the basis of myths and legends passed down through generations? As a result, similar images and stories have emerged in different cultures, adding to the mystery of this topic. For example, in ancient Greek texts, there are mentions of gods descending from the heavens, which can also be interpreted as evidence of encounters with extraterrestrials. There are many examples that highlight this connection, but none of them provides a definitive answer to the question of whether our ancestors truly encountered extraterrestrial civilizations, or if it was merely a product of human imagination and the desire to explain the unknown. One such example is the discovery of mysterious circles in the vicinity of Cusco, Peru, which may be related to ancient rituals or the observation of celestial bodies. In particular, such circles could indicate astronomical events and serve as evidence that ancient people possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy. Imagine a civilization that bloomed like a blossoming flower on the island of Minos, only to vanish suddenly into the depths of history. The Minoan civilization, which thrived on Crete around 3,000 years ago, was renowned for its palace complexes, such as Knossos, which featured magnificent halls with plumbing and sewer systems far ahead of their time. Archaeologists like Sir Arthur Evans, who unearthed Knossos in the early 20th century, discovered vivid frescoes depicting marine scenes and ritual dances, showcasing the civilization's high art and advanced culture. The Minoans actively traded with neighboring peoples, including the Egyptians and Hittites, utilizing their powerful merchant fleets, which contributed to their economic prosperity. However, around 1600 BCE, a catastrophic event brought this brilliant era to an end. A volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini, known as Thera, triggered a massive tsunami that devastated the coastal cities of Crete. Scientists believe that this eruption could have released enormous amounts of ash into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and altering the climate on the island. This could have led to crop failures and famine, weakening the Minoan economy. However, not all researchers agree with this theory. Some point to the possible invasion of the Mycenaeans, who may have taken advantage of the Minoan state's decline to seize control of the territories. Others emphasize internal social conflicts that could have arisen due to economic hardships and popular discontent. This creates a chaotic atmosphere, the roar of the eruption, waves crashing onto the shores of Crete, ash blotting out the sun, and panic in the once thriving cities. The Minoan civilization, which left behind numerous mysteries and magnificent artifacts, now exists only as a shadow of its former glory, and scholars continue to puzzle over the enigma of its disappearance. Archaeological finds show that Knossos was severely damaged, and beyond its walls only ruins remain, a reminder of the once flourishing culture. On the remote island of Easter, lost in the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean, stand hundreds of stone giants silently gazing into the distance. These monumental statues, known as moai, reach heights of up to 10 meters and can weigh up to 80 tons. Each one possesses unique features, including elongated faces, massive jaws, and expressive features, making them resemble the ancient ancestors of the island's inhabitants. The moai are primarily located on the Ahu platform, which served not only as a place for their installation, but also as ritual platforms for worship. Approximately 13% of all the statues are found on Ahu Tongariki, where they are lined up, looking out to the ocean. The total number of moai on Easter Island exceeds 900, underscoring their importance in the culture of the local inhabitants, the Rapa Nui. However, the mystery of how these giant statues were transported from the quarries to the coast remains one of the most intriguing aspects of studying the island. Various theories exist regarding how the ancient Rapa Nui moved these colossal statues. One of the most widely accepted hypotheses suggests the use of logs as rollers, which, according to scientists, allowed the moai to be rolled across the ground. Other researchers, however, claimed that the statues walked with the help of rocking, when a group of people would move them by tilting them forward and backward, which could significantly simplify the transportation process. The sound of the ocean waves crashing against the shore behind these stone giants creates a captivating atmosphere, while the wind caressing their stern faces reminds us of the vibrant life that once thrived here. The isolation and mystery that envelop the entire island are further emphasized by the fact that many of the statues remained unfinished, indicating complex cultural and social processes that took place on the island before its discovery by Europeans in the 16th century. Easter Island has become not only a place of fascinating travel, but also a site for profound reflections on human labor, faith, and culture. For each statue standing on this distant island holds fragments of history. 80 tons of stone, carved and shaped, have become a symbol of an entire civilization that, like the moai themselves, teetered on the brink of extinction. Studying the moai allows us not only to delve into the world of the Rapa Nui, but also to ponder how often humanity forgets its roots. Imagine a black basalt stone that became the key to unraveling one of the most mysterious scripts in human history. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799 by French soldiers in Egypt, became a true artifact that opened the doors to the world of ancient Egyptian culture and language. A stele about a meter high and 70 centimeters wide contains 3 texts written in different languages. The top one in ancient Greek, the middle one in Demotic, and the bottom one in hieroglyphs. This approach allows for the comparison of texts and the identification of correspondences between languages, which in turn formed the basis for the decipherment of hieroglyphs. Jean-François Champollion, a talented French linguist and archaeologist, used the Rosetta Stone in 1822 for his groundbreaking work, which led to the decipherment of the hieroglyphic script. He noticed that the hieroglyphs contained names of kings and gods, such as Ptolemy and Isis, and used this knowledge as a starting point for further research. Using a method known today as graphic analysis, Champollion was able to match signs with their sound and meaning. This breakthrough opened access to a vast amount of historical texts, including religious scrolls, records of daily life of ancient Egyptians, and even scientific works. Thus, the Rosetta Stone didn't just become an object of study, but a symbol of the return of a forgotten language. Its rough surface, contrasting with the carved signs on it, allows us to feel history with our fingertips, immersing us in a world where pharaohs ruled the lands and gods watched over every step of man. As a result of the decipherment, we learned about such crucial aspects of Egyptian culture as their religious beliefs, rituals, and social structure. For example, we discovered that ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife and built grand tombs for their rulers to ensure their comfort in eternity. Furthermore, Champollion and his successors were able to interpret complex myths associated with gods such as Osiris and Horus, providing new insights into their place in the culture. Since then, the Rosetta Stone has become not only an object of study, but also a symbol of cultural exchange and scientific progress, opening doors to a long-gone era. The map of Piri Reis, created in 1513, remarkably depicts the coastline of Antarctica, which at that time was hidden under a thick layer of ice. This Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis claimed to have used ancient sources, including works by such ancient authors as Eratosthenes and Strabo, to compile his map. It not only includes known lands, but also sections that, according to modern understanding, could not have been known at that time. For example, the map contains details that precisely match modern concepts of the shape of the Antarctic coastline, although the land itself remained unexplored until the beginning of the 20th century. This raises many questions about possible ancient civilizations or navigation technologies that could have allowed people in that period to explore such remote and inaccessible regions. Modern research shows that the map was created with remarkable accuracy. For instance, some scientists note that the contours depicted on the map coincide with underwater reliefs that were only discovered in the last few decades thanks to modern cartographic and hydrological methods. Studies conducted in 2006 using radar sounding confirmed that the subglacial topographic forms indeed correspond to those shown on Piri Reis's map. These facts underscore how mysterious ancient maps remain and make one ponder what knowledge their creators possessed. Other ancient maps, such as Mercator's map, created in 1520, also generate interest due to their details that preceded the era of great geographical discoveries and spark debates about how and from where ancient cartographers drew their knowledge. For example, some maps dated to 1418 depict regions that were not open to Europeans until the 16th century. These artifacts not only challenge traditional notions of geographical knowledge in the Middle Ages, but also open doors to possible secrets hidden in the depths of history. The question of how Piri Reis and his contemporaries could have obtained such accurate data continues to fascinate scientists and researchers, leading to speculations about possible contacts between ancient cultures that may have existed long before documented encounters. Specifically, such hypotheses about interactions between civilizations on different continents remain a subject of active scientific debate. These maps, like Piri Reis's, become not just geographical tools but some kind of secret messages from the depths of time, requiring careful analysis and interpretation. Deep beneath the earth of Cappadocia lie entire worlds created by human hands. These subterranean cities, such as Derinkuyu and Kaymakli, reach depths of up to 20 levels and can accommodate thousands of people. Their complex infrastructure includes ventilation shafts, wells, and security systems that protect residents from external threats. For instance, stone doors weighing up to half a ton can seal entrances and prevent enemy access, while special shafts were used for ventilation, ensuring the flow of fresh air. These cities served as shelters from persecution and enemy raids, providing protection during conflicts like the Arab conquests in the 7th century when inhabitants sought safe havens. However, it is essential not to overlook other theoretical functions of these underground spaces. Some researchers suggest they were used for wine storage and production, with specialized rooms and columns for pressing grapes, and as religious centers for worship. The cool air of the underground creates an atmosphere of seclusion, while the muffled sounds of footsteps in the tunnels enhance a sense of security from the outside world. When torches illuminate the walls of volcanic tuff, the flickering light creates an effect of a living space where each stone and passage holds legends and secrets of millennia. Research by Turkish archaeologists indicates that these cities were not merely temporary shelters but full-fledged centers of life where people found protection, food, and the ability to worship their gods while hiding from external dangers. More than 30 such underground cities have been discovered in Cappadocia, making this region unique in the world and preserving traces of ancient civilizations that adapted to hostile environments. Imagine for a moment the crystal skulls found in Central America, each seemingly capable not only of reflecting light but also of leading to profound contemplations about the mysteries of antiquity. These artifacts, crafted from pure quartz, are remarkable for their flawless polish and anatomical precision. Their creation required not only skill, but also knowledge that, according to some researchers, may have been lost over the centuries. The skulls have a smooth surface, and light passing through their transparent structure creates unusual iridescent reflections, as if they are alive. Some of them are between 30 and 40 centimeters tall and weigh up to 7 kilograms. These artifacts evoke not only admiration but also a sense of awe, as their empty eye sockets gazing at the observer create the impression that they are watching every movement. There are conflicting theories about their origin. Some scientists believe they are genuine ancient artifacts with mystical properties used in rituals and ceremonies. For example, in 1930, one such skull was discovered in Mexico, which researchers claim was created by the Aztecs, although there is no documentary evidence to support this. Others, including renowned archaeologist and anthropologist David Houston, assert that these skulls are clever forgeries from the 19th century, created to attract tourists and researchers. Houston points to features such as grinding machine marks and unnatural lines that indicate modern production. This debate intensifies with each new discovery, and whenever the skulls are exhibited at auctions or in museums, they spark heated discussions among historians and archaeologists. Nevertheless, over the centuries, the skulls have continued to retain their aura of mystery. A cold crystal touching the skin evokes the sensation of touching the very essence of historical heritage. Their presence in museums and private collections is often accompanied by legends about their healing properties or their ability to predict the future. It is interesting that even in the 21st century, some researchers are trying to determine how ancient cultures could have processed such materials without modern technologies. Scientists like Mario Gutierrez conduct experiments with modern tools to recreate the process that might have led to the creation of such complex forms, but the results remain ambiguous. As a result, the crystal skulls remain not only objects of admiration, but also sources of unsolved questions about the true capabilities of human civilizations and how they could have created such captivating artifacts. Each skull is not just a work of art, but a whole history filled with mysteries and contradictions that continue to intrigue both scientists and history enthusiasts. There are different versions about the number of such skulls. Some researchers claim there are only 8, while others say there are more than 10 examples preserved to this day. Each one is a unique artifact that continues to stir minds and serve as a reminder that there is still much unexplored in human history. Once, at the entrance to the harbour of Rhodes, there stood a statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This magnificent bronze figure reached a height of about 33 meters, making it one of the tallest monuments of its time. The Colossus was erected on a stone base, with some sources indicating that its weight could exceed 200 tons. The statue depicted the sun god Helios, the patron of the island, and, according to legends, Its gleaming bronze surface reflected sunlight, creating a dazzling spectacle for sailors approaching the harbor. As they passed by, the sound of waves crashing against the base of the giant figure created an atmosphere of grandeur and power, emphasizing the significance of this architectural marvel. Construction of the Colossus began in 280 BC and took about 12 years to complete, demonstrating the high level of engineering skill of the time. The statue was destroyed by a powerful earthquake that occurred around 226 or 227 BC, leaving only fragments and memories of its former glory. There are theories that the Colossus may have served not only a decorative purpose but also as a lighthouse for ships entering the harbor. Some researchers suggest that its hands could have been raised in a welcoming gesture, guiding ships to a safe harbor. Thus, this monument not only symbolized the strength and prosperity of Rhodes, but also had practical value for sailors. Although it is impossible to restore the exact appearance of the Colossus, surviving descriptions testify to its grandeur. The bronze, gleaming in the sun, creates an image that continues to inspire artists and historians. Considering that the Colossus was built using technology similar to that used for creating statues in ancient Egypt, it can be assumed that it became a symbol not only of architectural but also of cultural power of its time. In the valley of the Indus River, there once existed cities that could rival modern megacities in terms of their planning and architecture. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were the two largest centers of this civilization, which flourished from around the 20th century BCE to the 15th century BCE. The urban planning in these areas was remarkable. Streets intersected at right angles, and houses were built from fired bricks that ensured durability and stability. Mohenjo-Daro was famous for its citadel, which stood above the city and served as both a religious and administrative center. This citadel housed the Great Bath, a structure measuring approximately 12 by 7 meters, used for ritual ablutions and likely having significant importance in the city's public life. Complex drainage systems allowed for the removal of wastewater, a remarkable achievement for its time. Standardized weights and measures facilitated trade, while the bustling streets echoed with the cries of vendors, the aromas of spices, and the sounds of workshops. However, all this splendor could not withstand the onslaught of numerous disasters. Researchers propose various theories about the causes of the decline of this civilization. One of the most well-known is the change in the course of the rivers, which could have led to a shortage of water for irrigation. Climate changes likely also played a role, causing droughts that undermined agriculture. The invasions of Aryan tribes, which began to penetrate India around 1500 years BCE, could have been the final blow to the already weakened civilization. Epidemics, too, probably did not spare the inhabitants of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, decimating their ranks. Gradually, once prosperous centers began to decline and the noisy markets and workshops fell silent. Today, Mohenjo-Daro is an archaeological site where one can see not only the ruins of buildings but also traces of the past life that tell the story of the people who once inhabited these cities. Entering this desolate world, one can feel how time takes away not only material things, but also the memory of the greatness that once reigned here. Among the ruins, tourists can see remnants of a civilization that left a deep mark on human history. In Mohenjo-Daro, around 30,000 artifacts have been found, including seals, jewelry, and tools, which give an idea of the high level of craftsmanship and culture of this mysterious civilization. Few people ponder the fact that ancient Romans created concrete that not only withstood the test of time, but continues to amaze modern engineers. This unique material, known as pozzolana, was produced by mixing lime with volcanic ash, extracted from the vicinity of Naples. Such concrete had the remarkable property of hardening underwater, which was a true revolution in construction. An example of this is the Pantheon, built in the 1st century AD, whose dome remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, with a diameter of exactly 40 meters. Roman engineering achievements did not stop at concrete. They constructed aqueducts that supplied cities with clean water, using gradients and arches that allowed water to be lifted to significant heights. The aqueduct in Septimium, built in the 1st century, was over 100 kilometers long and served the city until the 18th century. The coolness felt inside the thermae built by the Romans remains unforgettable even on hot days. These massive complexes, such as the baths of Caracalla, could accommodate up to 3,000 people and offered not only bathing, but also the opportunity to socialize and relax. The smoothness of the stone polished over centuries seems to tell the story of thousands of feet that have walked through these corridors, creating an unforgettable sound when water flows through marble fountains. Roman roads, built using a multi-layered technology, still serve as the foundation for modern highways. The Appian Way, built in 311 BC, connected Rome with southern Italy and was so strong that part of it has survived to this day, allowing modern travelers to follow in the footsteps of ancient legions. The engineering achievements of the ancient Romans became the foundation for subsequent civilizations, leaving an indelible mark on the history of architecture and construction. In the mountains of China, in isolated caves, granite discs known as the discs of Dropper were discovered. These artifacts have a diameter of approximately 30 centimeters and a central hole, with their surfaces adorned with spiral grooves reminiscent of micro-engraving. According to archaeological records, the discs were first found in 1938 by Chinese archaeologist Qipu Tei. His reports mention that these stone artifacts were discovered in remote mountain terrain, hidden in caves inaccessible to outsiders. This creates a sense that the discs held secrets that could alter our understanding of history and humanity. The spiral patterns on the discs give rise to numerous questions and theories. Some researchers suggest that they may contain information about a crashed spaceship, lending them a mystical aura. However, many scientists believe that the story of a crash is a myth created around these artifacts. This is not surprising, given that Qipu Tei did not provide sufficient evidence for his discovery, leading to many disputes and doubts among historians and archaeologists. Since the discs of Dropper became known to the public, numerous scientists have attempted to decipher their inscriptions, but none of these efforts have been successful. The isolation of the locations where the discs were found adds to their mystery. The caves in which they were discovered are surrounded by steep cliffs and dense forests, creating an atmosphere of secrecy and solitude. Some researchers even suggest that these artifacts may be connected to ancient civilizations that possessed knowledge beyond our reach. The spiral patterns evoke associations with extraterrestrial life forms and technologies that we can only dream of. While some researchers believe they are the result of human creativity, others suggest they are evidence of contact with more advanced civilizations. In the 19th century, these artifacts sparked immense interest among enthusiasts of the paranormal and conspiracy theories. Scientific research on the discs has continued for decades, and despite the lack of clear answers, they continue to attract attention. Some of the speculations surrounding the discs of Dropper are due to their unusual design and the fact that they do not fit into the familiar frameworks of known artifacts. Nevertheless, many scientists point out the existence of similar objects in other cultures, which may indicate that spiral patterns were a common motif across various civilizations. The discs of Dropper have become a symbol of how easily myths can be created around historical finds. This story serves as a reminder of the importance of approaching such discoveries with critical thinking and a scientific approach. To this day, the discs of Dropper remain an unsolved mystery, surrounded by numerous myths and speculations that continue to captivate researchers' minds. Interest in these artifacts does not wane, and they continue to inspire new generations of archaeologists and researchers eager to unravel their secrets. Ultimately, each new look at the discs of Dropper may open new horizons for understanding our past.